All right, we're all set. All right, welcome everyone. Welcome. We'll call this meeting to order. First on the agenda is the consent agenda. Does anyone have anything they'd like to discuss concerning the consent agenda, or question, or bring up? If not, I'll take a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And all in favor of accepting the consent agenda?
I will abstain. I was not here for the meeting.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Now that that's out of the way, let's bring up Norma, one of the hardest working members of this library staff.
I'll be one of the longest here, too.
Yes, absolutely.
Just a second.
Sure.
There is a welcome and introduction. Is that for the home audience?
This is how we proceeded the last few
Yeah.
meetings.
Yeah.
It's just like this?
Just
Okay.
like this. But
Never
welcome
mind.
to everyone. Yes, absolutely. So, Norma, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Norma.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you, of course. I think the first thing I'd like to say is April 20th is Volunteer Appreciation Week. So I think it's probably a good idea to start with talking about our volunteers. They do so much, as you all know. And I hate to give numbers out because numbers change, weekly, daily, monthly. However, I can give you a little bit of idea about how the program size-wise is. Presently, we have 56 active volunteers. 24 are working with more than one student, and that's more than half, obviously. And that includes tutors who work with groups as well. And the other 32 have one student, are working with one student, as we only expect and asked for, but so many have been willing to take on more than one or a small group, which is great. We do have 5 conversation groups at the library and also ones at the Sheraton and the shelter, which I'll talk about in a minute. But our volunteers really do so much. They have to put out the 18 hours of training, to spend that time to be trained in the beginning, and then they have to do lesson plans as well. So they put a lot of time into their volunteer hours. We have actually 3 classes going still at the Sheraton, which they've been pretty stable as far as numbers. We expect them to go up until the summer and maybe break for the summer. The shelter has 2 classes have ended their 12-week stint. One tutor chose to continue up until the summer, beyond the 12 weeks of classes. And one was not able to do the initial 12-week stint, so she is going to start in April actually, and she will go up to June at least. The challenges we've had at the shelter have been nothing new really from the beginning, because the students there, are there temporarily anyway. And when they get jobs, they leave. Not leave, but their time availability changes. And then they move out when they get housing, which is what it's all about. So the attendance there, as you can imagine, has been very challenging. But our tutors are great, and they just keep going forward. I'd also like to, also the child care has been very helpful at the shelter. We've been able to get volunteers there. Actually, Liz Hogan has helped us there, get volunteers to help with the children of the students so that they don't have to be in the class and that. So that has been really, really helpful. What else can I say about the, let's see. So, volunteers, we have been, as you know, for a long time, looking for volunteers. We really needed them because we had such a long waiting list. Well, we have had orientation meetings for tutors to come and learn about the program almost every month for quite a while. So in December, we had 17 attend the orientation. And I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked.
It was more than registered.
More than registered, and 17 showed up. And I'm like, something's going on here, because normally we would average maybe 10, 12, but December? So as we got to talking to a couple of them that attended the 17 number orientation, they expressed, concern after the November election, and felt that they needed to, do something to help people, and just wanted to make a difference. And therefore, we have seen many, many volunteers. We had 12 come to our February orientation. We didn't have one in January. Normally, I would have seen a lot in January and expected in January, but December was a real surprise, but not so surprising now that that was a clue as to why. In March, we had 9. So we have a lot of volunteers right now, thankfully, and still the long waiting list. I also have 10 volunteers to rematch who lost their students in the last few months. We had a remote training in the winter, and so we still have a few to match from there. And I just started a tutor training Saturday, and I have 16 in my training from the orientation. They have to come to an orientation before they do the training. So I have 16 to train. 2 couldn't make the date, so they are attending a remote training in the Boston in the Boston affiliate. So that's a lot of volunteers. So the tide has turned. I don't know how long it will be, but we're so thankful because we have such a long waiting list. One great thing about the trainings that in the Literacy Volunteers of Massachusetts network is that if we have a tutor who cannot make our trainings, because all our trainings are the same, all the tutor trainers are trained through LVM, they can at least attend another training. So somewhere else, and then come back here and tutor for us. So that's just an example of the helpfulness of the Literacy Volunteers of Massachusetts affiliates. We all help each other. We share things with each other, and it's a great benefit to have. So anyway, I also wanted to have a shout out to our part-time staff. They are great. Tina and Bonnie and Donna Jean. They help us cover the office at nights. They help us test. They help us do many, many things. So I, officially want to thank them for their time and efforts that they give to Kirsty and I. We are actually, Kirsty and I and the part-time staff are going through a recertification training with Literacy Volunteers of Massachusetts to administer the ESOL assessment. And it's like an 8 to 10 hour training, and it's online. And they don't do it every year, they do it maybe every 5 years or something, in order for us to learn. That it's actually a new test, and we have to be recertified to be able to administer and score it. So that has taken up a lot of time for us and the part-time staff, but it's almost done, so we're almost recertified. That's required by the Department of Education also, as well as Literacy Volunteers in Massachusetts. If you have any questions, it's kind of a rundown about what we're doing, what we will do, continue to do.
Fantastic.
First of all, I think out of the many terrific programs that the library has, yours may be the most widely known and much appreciated, I think. But I have a couple of questions about who your subjects are and how you teach them. First of all, ESOL, I can guess what the ES and L are, but the O threw me.
English to speakers of other languages.
Oh, okay. The tutors themselves, are there any of them who they themselves had English as a second language?
Yes, actually, we have some tutors. Most of our tutors have not had any teaching experience at all, hence the training. But we do have some retired teachers who have taught high school, elementary school, ESL. And actually, I have some people in this training, my Saturday training, 3 Saturdays actually, that have taught ESL. They have some experience, but most of our tutors don't have the experience, but some do.
Now, you mentioned there are standardized tests.
Yes.
Are there also standardized teaching materials that you use?
Yes, the teaching materials, actually, most of what we order from our New Readers Press, which is an educational publishing company, and Amazon. And I, as a teacher, my former teacher, public school teacher, although otherwise, I kind of know what I need to order. And I usually, order workbooks and readers and things that the tutors and students need through New Readers Press and Amazon as well. So we choose the teaching materials.
Last question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any circumstances where the student is a parent of someone who grew up knowing English and the student didn't, and it's the wanting to keep up with their own kids?
Oh, yeah.
Oh
yes. I mean, we have adult students from, all different ages. They have to be 18 or over, and some have children in school, and of course the children are naturally bilingual usually. So it kind of runs the whole gamut. Some have children that know English better than they do. And absolutely. It's just the whole, the whole spectrum of how much they know, how much they're living with children, and so forth and so on. So yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Sure, absolutely.
Fantastic. Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you talked about the matching process?
Yeah.
How does that work? Yeah.
To be honest, sometimes it just comes together magically.
Okay.
And other times it's quite a challenge.
Sure.
What we have to look at, many things. We have to look at, the first thing is their time availability. And we ask both tutors and students, when are you available to come once a week for a couple of hours to meet with a tutor or meet with a student? And that's the first thing we look at, obviously.
Sure.
And then we look at, after the tutors are trained, we do ask some of their thoughts about what level they might want to work with, if they might know another language also.
Sure.
Some of our a handful of our tutors are bilingual. Some know Spanish, some know some French, Arabic occasionally. So we look at that too. If we have a student that is at a very, very, very low level, not been here very
Sure.
long, and can't speak a lot of English. So we look at that. We look at the level. We have an intermediate and advanced, and we look at the levels and what a tutor might match up with. There's a lot that goes into
yeah.
the matching process,
Yeah.
a lot. But those are the main things that we look at.
Very interesting.
Well, you shared the story of and I think this was in one of the reports, but it's worth repeating.
Yeah.
Of the student who came was a medical professional, I think, in Brazil.
Yes, that was in our report. She's from Brazil, and she came to this country with her family, and was able to pass her medical boards in this country. She was matched with a retired physician. This is what I mean about sometimes it just magically is a good match. And he didn't really need to help her study for the medical boards because she was very bright. And she knew English, fairly well. What she really needed was conversation, so that she would be able to communicate with her patients better. That's really what she needed. They've been working together for, I want to say, almost 3 years now. And she passed her medical boards, she went through her internship, and at this point, as it's in your report, she finally got a job. And we were just so thrilled. And she has been improving her conversational skills. Her reading was actually better than her conversation. And she didn't have any trouble, she studied a lot, but it was just the conversation, so that she would be able to confidently speak with patients and understand them and be able to answer questions appropriately. So, it was a great story.
Yeah, definitely.
Among many other stories, but that's a good one.
No, that's definitely a good one, though, for sure. Certainly.
Last year, you told us the story of the guy who wanted to be, I believe it was a plumber, and started his own business. And I thought that was just
Yes, that was a few years back, but yeah, I haven't heard from him recently, but I'm sure he's.
That's just so great that,
Yeah, we get students who, they want to improve. They want to. I just met a fellow today actually that works at Roach Brothers, and he wants to be able. He's been there for 20 years actually. He's from El Salvador, and he wants to be able to be a manager. But they won't promote him until he is able to communicate.
Sure.
It's all about conversation a lot of the times. He is able to communicate with, customers better and understand them better. But he wants to be manager, and that's a common story.
Those are all amazing stories, and I'm always thrilled to hear them, but also always impressed by your hard work, you and the entire staff and all the volunteers. It's a daunting task, but it's seems to be ever present. But you handle it so well, and these stories are amazing that come out of it. I really think they're fantastic. Yeah.
And the stories wouldn't be stories at all if it wasn't for your mentorship through the whole thing for the tutors. Every step of the way. I mean, I remember starting and feeling like I wasn't doing a good job because it was such tiny baby steps, and hearing that, no, that's how it goes, because the person I was assigned to didn't speak any English, and it's very hard to break through that barrier. But you just directed me to the right books. You directed me to the right pictures. You directed me how to use magazines, and it's different than trying to teach a child, because it's just you're teaching an adult who has a sharp mind and that doesn't want to do baby things, and doesn't want to be handheld or spoon-fed, and it's a fine line. And you helped me to cross that line, and I helped her. And by the way, 2 weeks ago, one of my students, I got invited to her citizenship party, and she got in just under the wire before they held off citizenship. Having citizenships done for a while, they stopped them, and she was in there. And when I went to the party, so many other people from that restaurant were there that had been students, and it was a joy to see them and their accomplishments since they had been coming here, and they all learned because of your program and all the things that you had provided for them while they were here, and they all asked for you. Miss Norma.
Been here a long time.
Miss Norma. Miss Norma. So, so many people know you.
Yes.
And treasure you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I know I speak for my whole staff as we thank all of you for your support for the program.
Absolutely.
It is such an honor to have you, Norma, and your team, and the dedication over so much time. It is truly making a difference for so many individuals, and the ripple effect, because we know it's not just the people that the tutors are working with. It's the tutors' families themselves. I know it affects the tutors in deep ways, which we haven't even really to talk about, but also the students and the students' families and their greater circles. It is really inspiring work, and so I'm so grateful and thankful. And the level of professionalism. I'm so grateful for all of your experience in adult education, and commitment to doing it in a way that's not just let's share, but let's be serious about education. Let's make sure that the time is spent getting the certification, that we're giving the right support to the teachers, to the students, so that it's education we have to invest in to do well, and you're making that investment every single day. So thank you.
And the last thing, thank you for always bringing in such wonderful guest teachers to help us along the way with different aspects of teaching. Also, it gives us that little extra boost. Different topics. Thank you for that.
Sure, of course.
Well, that makes me curious. What are guest teachers?
Well, teachers have professional development days and things in the public school system and private too. So we have some connections of teachers. One teacher teaches ESL in the Stoughton public school system, and he's been around. His name is Eric, and he gives workshops for us a couple of times a year. And it's just like more professional development for our tutors. Sometimes it's remote, sometimes it's in person. So we invite, any teachers in the school systems, and I've known people over years that we invite to come and give a little bit of a workshop. Not days, but just 2 or 3 hours that our tutors can come and learn new things or materials and things. So it's kind of like a professional development meeting. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, kind of. Great. All right.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Norma. Thank you so much.
Of course.
All right. Throw it over to you, Clayton.
All right. Well, I want to take an opportunity to highlight. We recently got some new cards that we're laminating and putting on every desk. You may have seen them as you're coming through. Advertising a resource that we have from the state for a language line. So anybody who's interested, something we sometimes find challenging. There's one right here, exactly. People who are coming and getting for literacy services obviously don't always have the facility to talk with whatever staff that they encounter as they're coming into the building. But we now have the ability we don't even have to be able to identify the language we're speaking. We've got a special number that we can call where they can very quickly help us understand what language skills we need to have, and then within a very short period of time connect us with a live translator to help with literacy services or whatever other library services they need. So it's really exciting to get the word out and just do what we can to increase people's access to resources. So we're really proud of that. Yeah, that was very nice to have that sign. That was not even a plan.
Could we see it?
Yeah, sure. We can
It was in the middle of the table, but
Yeah.
I knew it was kind of in the
We
way.
want to make sure
so.
that the other thing we were talking about, and I saw in your notes that space is a big issue.
Oh, yeah.
We know how many nights a week we're entitled
I have,
to
yeah, that's the thing with so many matches coming up is that there are 2 nights, I think it's Monday and Wednesday. I have no more study rooms available, so they're all full. And 2 mornings a week also.
And that's 3 study rooms and this room we're in right now.
Uh-huh, yes. Yep, so spaces could be a problem.
So I'll be talking to people in other places in town to explore.
Sure.
Are there places in town hall? Are there places at the Civic Center? How can we help provide the space for these relationships to continue? So it's a good problem to have, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a challenge, but you're right.
That's great.
Fantastic. On to reports.
On to reports. I really don't have anything for the personnel. Well, let's see. Did we talk about Susan Bunker last month? I can't remember the timing on that.
No.
No, we did not.
No. Susan Bunker, who you recall, was working here through last summer, through the end of June last year, approached me recently and said that she would be interested, if we would be interested in having her back to help out over the summer and some nights and weekends. I said, well, let me talk to Michael, of course, but we were delighted to have her back. And since we last met, I made an offer, and she accepted the offer, so we're going through the paces with HR and do all the paperwork to bring her back part-time. So she'll be not full-time, but still in the same capacity, helping out in the circulation department. Okay. So we're really delighted to have Susan back. So that's the personnel report.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good.
We did see a signed contract. There's a couple details that they're still working on.
Almost.
Well, did you just sort of wave it by?
Yeah, did you actually see?
I actually got a scanned copy of it that came across my desk.
Okay.
And Kate got it with the union, and we looked and we said, oh, okay, let's talk.
Okay.
That's where it went from there. It's a constant process.
All right.
It was progress. The big report really is, last week is when we had the specialist doing the water penetration testing.
Yes.
So if you didn't come by, you missed seeing the lift here. I have some wonderful photographs I'll include, and I have a whole web album so you can see. If you'd like to go around and see the spots where they've patched most of it up. There's a couple spots that are in staff-only areas where we were able to leave it because if we didn't need to spend the time and resources to patch it, as long as it wasn't a hazard or was going to be at risk for their damage. I just want to get it fixed as quickly as possible.
So are they all fixed?
No. What we did is identify the problems.
Oh, I thought when you said patch, that's what you meant.
No. I mean, on a week ago Monday, they came and had to cut out sections of wall so they could expose and get beyond just the plaster, so they could see the brick and the stone behind it. And then they came in on Tuesday and Wednesday and drenched that stone, so they could identify exactly where the water was penetrating. I've got video where you can see over in the stairwell in the front on Walpole Street. There were multiple spots inside where you can see where there's water damage in the paint. And they gradually worked their way up until they could identify. And at one point, they got to a spot where it was like a sieve. They had the hose, and it was just basically just rushing in, and then we could follow the track down inside the wall where it was going because of how they'd opened it up. So that's an example because it's in a back emergency stairwell. I was going to leave it open, period, but there was some rusted metal. I said, that's not safe. I don't want somebody to accidentally be using this as an emergency egress and then have a hazardous situation. So there's some plywood that's been put up there. Some other spots they did more extensive patchwork, and we'll actually even do some painting just until we can get it more permanently, the funds and move forward. You expect a final report from them in the next couple of weeks. They're just waiting on the architecture firm that's doing the study is getting the final reports from all their subs. But everything went really well last week. I've gotten around since we last met with hazardous material and codes and you name it. I spelled it out some in the report. But it's been an exciting bunch of visits. And every time you come with a specialist, you see different things in this building. Even if you've been looking at it for days, you can come with somebody who's got a different angle and you see things differently. One of the things that was very nice, there's a window below the emergency exit from Simone room that goes into the compact storage underneath that has some significant damage and was concerning. Had a structural engineer who actually came to see it last week, and whereas the people who really discovered how extensive some of the steel damage was, the structural engineer was able to reassure us that the weight that it had been carrying was distributed differently when they cut that door in. They did that a door about 25 years ago when they added that stairwell, and that relieved the weight that lentil, a steel lentil, had been bearing, which is a big reassurance. There was a short spell there where we were pretty nervous, but we got the right. Nothing was moving or anything, but it was metal that was flaking away. It's not pretty. So. The follow-up, and then I'll address your question. They found the intersection between the metal stairs outside and the stone building. There was a very clear crack that was where the water was coming in, and so they did a little routing, and that they did fix. Not a long-term fix, but they were able to put some sealant there that should hold us until we can get a more long-term fix and stop the water from causing further damage right now. So that was an unplanned for repair that was very gratefully received.
It occurred to me while you were describing this that if you have enough pictures, including little movies, this would be a cool presentation. If there's one thing 10-year-old boys would love to see, it's people tearing up walls and finding water cascading inside and tracking down where it's coming from.
Maybe 10-year-old boys that you're thinking about, John, but I'm actually thinking about the final report is going to be for the town meeting, because we're going to be going to capital outlay and asking for the funds. And so a presentation of some nature to all interested parties so that we can make sure that people understand what needs to be done to repair this building is definitely in the works.
It's good. I think I'm safe since they put in the wire heater thing for the frost dams or ice dams.
That was area number 5, I believe. We had 6. We have as I shared, I think last time we had the whole plans. That was that space where we had the problems with the ice dam was area number 6. Or was it 5 or 6? I can't remember. I have to go back and look at it. And then we had the help on Thursday of just the natural soaking that showed us again when water was coming in. So we were kind of bookended with that.
It was just to confirm it. That's all.
Exactly. Yeah. They also did some exploratory digging and discovered all sorts of fun things about this building. So
It's always exciting. You know that.
yeah,
This building's
one of
never
my
a dull moment.
favorites. Like a little, a perk beyond just seeing, learning where the problems are. When you get on the roof right above the eave on the oldest part of the building, there's some stone details there that you would never notice unless you were up pretty close.
Yeah.
Did you
So I
take pictures of that?
Of course.
Okay, good.
So that was a treat. I have several goodies to talk about in the programming section. I want to hand out, you can find, these all have your names on them, so I'll let you find yours and then pass the rest around the table. These are invitations to the literary lunch, a fun annual tradition. I hope that you can all join us, or as many of you as possible. I know many of you have been there in the past, so I hope you can come back. We have, just this morning, Michael Rosen from the manager's office shared a couple posters for the ribbon cutting at Bernie Cooper Riverfront Park on May 9th at 4:30. We have flyers that we're posting encouraging the public and staff and you as well
May
to
9th.
attend May 9th at 4:30. It's a Friday afternoon. The flyers are in English and Portuguese. I'll pass these around.
They're in Portuguese?
There is one in Portuguese.
Oh,
one in
my
English.
goodness.
And if there's inclement weather, they're planning on, they'll do the ribbon cutting, but then do some celebration inside. I've got the calendar for the month, which I'll pass around. We've had some great concerts so far. We had a really great turnout. We got a really nice email from the performer this last Sunday, Fanny Laura, which I'll share in next month's packet. But there's a couple of concerts coming up this month on the 13th and 27th. These concerts are really getting a great crowd. The seed library we're doing another seed packing party, so if you missed out on the fun and the ones we've done so far, you can come on April 10th and help us with the grunt work to actually get the seeds distributed in little packets. Our sensory-friendly movies are still on the same day as the seed packing party. If you time it right, the seed packing is in the evening, but earlier at 1 o'clock you can come and watch Despicable Me 4 if you like sensory-friendly movies. They're not for everybody. They can be a little louder. There's some folks who some folks consider disruptive, but for the population, it's really resonating and people really appreciate those movies. Our fabulous librarian Heath is doing, I think this is the second or third, in their series on work they did nationally on the Misinformation Resilience Toolkit, Be Media-wise. So we're benefiting from the work that they did nationally with a series of programs here. This is exploring fact, opinion, and bias. So you don't have to attend any of the previous ones, but as we watch how information is continually weaponized and people have all sorts of ideas of what is the truth, this is exploring what does that actually mean. And as information professionals, we take this really seriously. So I'm really grateful for his work on that. And, I know people have really been appreciating that program. I know everybody's excited about NORD 101 coming up, so this is just another primer for folks who want to learn more. We will obviously have a presence. Lydia and I always enjoy greeting people as they come in, and you're all welcome to come and meet folks too. We have board game night coming up. The puzzle race, if you have not caught the buzz around town about puzzle races, I had a funny story about puzzle races recently where apparently there are people who are on a puzzle race circuit. They will go from library to library and are very competitive and very good. So whereas once we had some prizes for winners of the puzzle race, now you get bragging rights because some locals were getting tired of being routed by these professional puzzle race crews. So it's still a lot of fun, but we're trying to make sure that it's really intended for a local audience. So it's really fun.
Bandits.
Darshana has been working with the Economic Development Director, Joe Collins, and Joe and Tom O'Rourke, the President of Ponce River Regional Chamber, are presenting a program on business in Norwood on Thursday the 24th. So that should be really good. We have a talk of the person who's written a couple books about what it's like to actually be autistic, and one book is about a guide to being independent, and another is a guide to advocacy for people with autism. And they are speaking here in person on Tuesday the 29th. And the day before, we're working with the Certified Financial Advisor Society of Boston for borrowing and credit scores. So as we watch the economy do all sorts of nosedives, it seems right now, we are here to provide some assistance with how to manage your own credit score and borrowing options. So,
Speaking of autism, there was an article or two that one of the current contestants on Survivor has autism and is from Massachusetts. And the circumstances came up where she chose to reveal her condition to someone on an opposing team who provided very compassionate help. They ended up having a discussion of what goes on with that and what you should do with that. And at the end, the host of the show was teared up. So if you want to watch Survivor and see if Eva is still around.
you heard it here.
Excuse me. I have some.
There's a lot of programs happening. I guess the main takeaway is, if you're looking for something to do, talk to us. We got some ideas.
Plenty. That's good. That's great.
I talked about maintenance repair, I think, before. There's nothing additional really on that front right now. Everything is stable right now in the library. We just had the ongoing study.
Good.
And I know you and I will be talking to the friends tomorrow night.
You go
That's correct.
down the
That's
stairs
correct.
and then up
And
the
they're,
stairs near the staff room and the bathrooms.
They're getting ready for their big book sale. It's May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. May 2nd is Friends of the Library Preview Day. And then May 3rd and May 4th, they're open. The hours, I have that here somewhere. The hours each day are not there. Not there.
We can look for it.
We can look at it. No, here it is. They're from on Saturday. It's 9 a.m. to 4:45 p.m. and then on Sunday it's 1 to 4:45 p.m. And then, yes, and on Sunday all remaining items are 50% off. So it's a big push to sell those books.
That's right.
Yes.
Instead of the bag.
Yeah, instead of the binoculars.
But speaking of bags,
But speaking
as
of
if you were
bags.
reading our minds,
Yes, the Friends have finally have a new bag that will be offered at the book sale for sale, a canvas book bag.
Nice.
That's I'm not sure what the retail price is going to be yet, but it's a wonderfully designed bag, and it holds a lot of books, and it'll be a great way to bring your books to and from the library. So it'll be like the hot item in town.
All right.
I believe so.
and if you miss it at the book sale, it will also be, assuming there's supplies available, at the farmer's market this summer.
Correct.
And for sale here in the library
Yes,
as well.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
What did I miss?
Would you keep
A
it for
bag,
sale
a bag.
in the
Friends of
little
some
ongoing book sale room?
Because of the price of this, it's going to be a different price point than the items that are for sale in that room. So that's an honor system there. This bag will be behind the desk and we need to interface with someone. Because we'll be making sure that we get
The correct price.
the correct price
The correct
for the
price,
bag.
yes.
Yeah.
All right, correspondence.
Correspondence. There is some correspondence in the packet. There is a lovely letter that I received from the Mass Teen Choice Book Award, commending Dina for contributions to that effort. So I want to publicly recognize Dina and thank her for participating in that. It's a lot of work. Whenever you get engaged in book award judging, especially, and work with those, it's a lot of reading, and people do it on their own dime. I've been a judge myself, and I can personally attest to it kind of takes over your social life for a little while when you do this. So I'm really appreciative for Dina for doing that.
Excuse me.
I know a lot of people have been asking and wondering what's going on since the executive order to to just strip, to demolish really the Institute for Museum and Library Services, IMLS. So rather than interpret, I would encourage folks, if you haven't dived into the emails that are here from Sarah Sagigian, who's the director of the National Library System, and Maureen Amyot, who's the director of the Mass Board of Library Commissioners, I encourage you to spend some time and we can talk about what's going on there. The short story, and then I'll be talking about with the friends tomorrow night, is that we do expect that Massachusetts will be impacted. We know that we can't talk to anybody in IMLS right now because they've all been put on administrative leave and their positions are terminated as of beginning of May, I believe May 3rd. So there's no one to answer any questions. Our funds for the state have been, we have all the funds that have been allocated to us, with the exception for a couple of special projects that have been terminated. But for big things like Comcat, LEA, which is a state ebook program, through the end of this fiscal year, but we're working, and I suspect we are going to see some cuts in the next fiscal year if things are not restored in that department. So any effects that we feel here will be because of secondary cuts, as the federal cuts impact the state and the line items the state has. The state then may reapportion money for things that were previously funded by the feds in ways that we may experience more acutely here in Norwood, but we don't know in what way that will be yet. So the best way people can support, Massachusetts politicians have been very supportive of libraries. That's not true in every state. So if you have friends or family in other states, encouraging them, I don't know if I'm allowed in this capacity to encourage advocacy, but you certainly can as trustees, and other people can take this knowledge that not every state has as supportive representatives as we do in Massachusetts, and so people who wish to make their love of libraries known in other states could really have an impact.
So are you suggesting that someone from a state where they're like not allowing books, let's just put it bluntly, could actually get books, say, from the BPL or online, or?
It's more nuanced than that. There have been efforts. It really depends on the nature of how the books are under attack. Some of the ways that small and rural libraries are the most threatened because they're disconnected and they get more. There's support from federal sources, but it's not so much about where they're going to get books from. There are multiple sources and people that are trying to address that issue as well, but it's grim. Especially for some of those smaller places, or school libraries have been especially under attack in other parts of the country. There have been efforts that BPL has been part of to make especially challenged books available to youth who've been denied access in different parts of the country. But it's more contextual. There's not an easy answer to that. There is, I thought you might really enjoy, there's an article in here from the HuffPost about librarians are mad as hell at the administration. They think you should be too. So for a little light bedtime reading there. So I encourage you to check that out. That was shared by somebody I was doing some work with. That is the bulk of that is the correspondence pages in here.
All right, on to old business. I know the ad hoc committee was busy, very busy. But I also know that we've decided that the process needs more work, and so that will continue, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, good. Patrons in the library.
We are seeing a significant a lot of people in the library.
Yes.
The busiest days in March, the 3 busiest days were Sundays. It's a combination. Art and Bloom brought a lot of people in that weekend. The musical Sundays are bringing a lot of people in. But it's also just a popular time to be able to come to the library. We can look at the attendance at those and know there's a lot of people just, we also look at transactions per hour. And that's just, I'm actually counting business by transactions per hour, and that's how many items are checked out, how many are checked in, how many holds we're placing, how many holds we're pulling further to send elsewhere. On Sundays, we're not doing a lot. We don't have staff to go and pull our holds to fill requests across the network, but we do have things that are returned, and we're checking them in, and that will fill some holds. So, but put all together, the busiest time, just in terms of our staff checking things in and out and filling those holds are Sundays by far in March. So
The weather's been helping.
it has been rather raw, as it was earlier today. That is true. We don't know if things will sustain as it gets nicer to spend time outside. We may see a switch and it might get really hot, in which case we've been a cooling center before too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all about that too. So, yeah. We haven't had any rust or anything like that in the library recently. So.
Oh, good. That's good. All right, on to new business. Is there any new business? No.
I will share. I was at a lunch yesterday with the president of ALA, Cindy Hole. It was a lunch hosted by the Cambridge Public Library. Dr. Maria McCauley is the director of the Cambridge Public Library. He past president of the Public Library Association, and invited a group of library leaders from across the state to have lunch with Cindy and hear a few things just about the state of libraries today in Massachusetts and across the country. And she shared some very inspiring things about how libraries are playing such a vital role in the current day and age, and really are the place where communities come together. And as we're experiencing so many of the challenges that we're seeing across this country, libraries are filling in and filling the information needs and the ability for us all to find the ways we can be our best selves individually and collectively as a community. So Cindy had some really positive things to share. And then at the end of her remarks, she shared with us some exciting news that only an hour previously had been shared with Dr. McCauley. Dr. Maria McCauley was just elected to be the new president of ALA, a small membership organization of about 48,000 people across the entire country. So it's really exciting to have one of our peers here in the Minuteman Library Network, because Cambridge is part of ours, and a friend get elected to that really important position. So that was delightful. We had a board meeting for the Massachusetts Library System, which you recall that I joined and have been attending those meetings since January, that we, just later that same afternoon, so we had a little room, a conference room at the library, so that we could have those of us who were there, because there were several of us who were at the lunch, join other people from across the state for our board meeting. While there, one of our peers, one of our fellow board members, received a phone call that she had to take and come back. Maria Palacio is the director of the Acton Public Library, also in Minuteman, and the phone call was informing her that she won an election and is now the director at large to represent small and rural libraries for the Public Library Association. So we now have two leaders in the Minuteman Library Network who are taking on a national role in PLA and ALA, and I'm super proud to be working with them, and just for everyone to know that the work that we're doing here, we are talking obviously with people that we're all working on a national stage, and it's significant and exciting work, and I'm super proud of both of them.
Oh, that is great. That's great.
I am just so proud of you, Clayton, for elevating us the way that you do, and the way that you treat all your staff, and you just encourage them and let them go with their projects. It's wonderful, and thank you.
I feel very fortunate to be here and have such great staff, so and such great support from you all. Thank you.
And thank you for all of the emails that you send us with all of the timely and on point emails from all of the associations about what's going on politically and within the MLA, ALA, IMLA, all of the things that are affecting what's going on in the library, nationally, locally, and statewide. Keeps us abreast of what's going on and gives us the opportunity to write to our legislatures, thank them for their support, or to tell them why aren't you supporting with us with this? Let's go. And not only our legislatures, but legislatures in other states to say, this is important. it would be appreciated nationally if you would, understand the role that the libraries play for all Americans. For us to step outside of Massachusetts, outside of New England, and gives us that push that we need to see that we have the power to do that. Not because we're trustees, but because the library means so much to us as citizens and as Norwoodites, as people that love the library. So thank you for doing that for us and giving us a pathway to help in any way we can. I myself am a little too old to be going out to the protests, and so I use the power of the pen and of the typewriter, or not the typewriter, who uses those, but I use the power of the keyboard.
You did say you were
to
old.
I am old. I'm proudly old, and but to get across that things cannot be taken away from Americans without us saying that we don't want. We are here to say that that is not going to be given lightly, and the reasons are that education is something that cannot be given. It needs to be addressed, and it can't be addressed without libraries. The libraries are the foundation of where people go when they need help with their education. Schools have it, libraries, universities, communities. They all have libraries. Don't take those away. And if you don't have an inkling of what education is, then there will be more problems than your stocks and bonds in America. There will be a lot more issues that come up over the years, the 4 years, hopefully, just 4 years, and hopefully less than that. So thank you for helping us.
Well said.
Probably not, but that's the way I talk. I don't always say what is in my heart, but it comes out spaghetti.
We understand.
Thank you.
We do. We do completely.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, no search warrants, miscellaneous advisory, no.
Clear on that front, I think.
All right. Would anyone else like to make any remarks, comments, thoughts, observations? All right then. If not, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Would anyone like to second that motion?
Second.
All right. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, gosh.